We are in the heart of the Bieszczady Mountains. The Solina power plant is part of the San River Cascade, which includes two power plants that regulate the flow of the San River. These plants work together. The water that flows through the Solina pumped storage plant goes into the lower Miczkowce reservoir, and from there, through the Miczkowce run-of-river plant back into the San River. As a result, during high water inflows, this setup allows us to capture flood waves in the Solina reservoir and gradually release the water downstream to the San River, preventing floods and delaying disruptions for as long as possible. In turn, during dry periods, we ensure that the San River maintains a minimum flow, guaranteeing a consistent water supply to the river. Currently, in Poland, about 30% of the electricity in our outlets comes from renewable sources. Is that a lot or a little? Ideally, we should aim for almost all energy in our energy mix to come from renewable sources. Poland will experience growing demand for electricity, so the development of renewable energy sources must progress dynamically. This demand will increase due to the electrification of transport, meaning increased usage of electric cars and buses, and also because we'll be using heat pumps to heat our homes and buildings, using electric energy. Hydropower has long been a technology used worldwide because it draws on the endless flow of river water. The benefits include it being emission-free and more controllable than other renewables which depend on the weather. The construction of the Solina power plant took 7 years, from 1961 to 1968, and was a massive undertaking. Around 2,200 hectares of land were flooded to create Poland's largest artificial reservoir, with a gigantic surface area and capacity of almost 500 million cubic meters. It was a long process. The dam itself took 7 years to complete, and the water was gradually accumulated. You could say that the reservoir was formed over the entire construction period. The Miczkowce plant was built earlier, since the lower reservoir is always created before the upper one. It was built over 3 years, between 1958 and 1961. The Solina Miczkowce Cascade was created to protect those areas against flooding. The main purpose of the dam is flood protection for the region. The second very important function is increasing the minimum flow rates. During a drought, we can take advantage of the fact that we have a large water reservoir with reserves, allowing us to release more water than is flowing into the reservoir. For example, during dry periods in July or August, we can release 15 cubic meters of water per second, even when the river itself is carrying only 1 or 2 cubic meters. This helps maintain life in the river. And the third aspect is the energy aspect. By having water stored in these two locations, we can use it twice to drive the generators and produce green energy. The electricity from all hydropower plants, you could say, goes into a common pool. It's not like we're working for a specific city or area. We supply the national grid, meaning everyone contributes energy to the common pool, and everyone takes as much as they need from it. That's how national energy distribution works. The Solina Dam is the largest of its kind in Poland. It's 82 meters high and stretches across 664 meters in length. The pumped storage plant located here is the third most powerful of this kind in Poland, with an installed capacity of 200 megawatts. It is powered by 4 hydro units. 2 of these units are standard, solely for electricity generation, while the other 2 are reversible, meaning they can also pump water back into the upper reservoir. This makes the plant function as an energy storage facility.
Magazynem energii, ponieważ przy stale rosnącym udziale odnawialnych źródeł
With the increasing share of renewable energy sources like solar and wind, which aren't fully controllable, facilities like Solina are essential for stabilizing the system. When there is excess energy coming from these uncontrollable sources, we can activate the pumps and store the surplus by pumping water to the upper reservoir for later use during peak demand. Later, when needed, we can release the water back down and return that energy into the power grid.
Aby później, kiedy pojawi się konieczność, wypuszczać wodę w dół i tą energię z powrotem wpuszczać do systemu energetycznego.
In Poland, we have different types of hydropower plants. For example, pumped storage plants, like Solina, which naturally receives water from the San River, so the reservoir is fed by rivers that flow into it. Classic pumped storage plants are organized in such a way that we line the mountaintop with concrete and we fill it up with water, which means that the water has to be pumped into the upper reservoir, so it can be used during peak energy demand. Another type of power plant is the Miczkowce plant. It's a run-of-river plant, which ensures that the river flow is continuously maintained, and depending on the size of the flow, it delivers the corresponding amount of energy. And the small hydro plant is also a type of run-of-river plant, meaning it has to ensure the river flow. We are primarily focused on regulating the flow, so we have to maintain the river's flow, which is exactly what the small hydro plant does. As I mentioned, in the section cut off by the pipeline that brings water to the Miczkowce plant, the disconnected San riverbed is supplied by the small hydro plant. We are now inside the machine hall of the Solina power plant. Here we can see 4 hydro units installed in the floor. The first 2 are classic hydro units. They are used solely for generating electricity. The next 2 are reversible pump turbines, which, in addition to generating electricity, can also pump water back up. Here, under these orange structures, we see the hydro units, with the slip rings of the excitation systems located beneath them, which supply power to the rotor. You can get a sense of the hydro unit size by looking at the black plates. In this hall, the daily operations also take place. All necessary materials are transported here and then moved down to the lower level, where the rotating parts of the hydro units are located. Behind the glass, we can see part of the plant's history. As in the past, the control of the hydro units was carried out from the adjacent room. The duty engineer used to sit behind a desk. In order to start or stop a hydro unit, he would have to get up, walk to the control panel, and manually, one by one, follow the entire sequence to either start or stop the unit. From 2000 to 2003, the Solina plant underwent a major modernization, during which all manual control systems were replaced with automated ones. This upgrade made it one of the most modern facilities of its kind back then in both Poland and Europe. Since then, continuous modernization of the systems has taken place to keep up with current trends and ensure the plant operates in a way that it's ready for use 24 hours a day. This readiness is one of our primary functions, ensuring that at any time, day or night, we can either generate, pump, or draw energy from the grid to regulate the system. We generate energy throughout the year, but not continuously. Depending on hydrological conditions, we can operate during different periods. As a pumped storage power plant, we typically operate when the energy is most needed in the system. For example, during peak energy demand in the country, let's say around 8 p.m. when demand is the highest, we activate the hydro units to provide the necessary energy surplus. Unlike other power plants, a hydro plant can reach full power in just 3 minutes. So in a very short time, we can supply over 200 megawatts of electricity to the national grid, which we do during peak demand periods. When there's no demand, for instance, when the weather is good and there's plenty of solar energy in the system, we can take advantage of this surplus. We turn on the pumps, and the third and fourth hydro units in Solina pump water from the lower Miczkowce reservoir back up, provided the meteorological conditions allow. This way, we can later use that energy during peak periods. Wind and solar power plants operate when the weather permits, that is, when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing. We cannot control this energy. We must use it when it's available. When there's an energy surplus in the system from the wind and solar plants, we can capture it and then use it to pump water from the lower reservoir back to the upper one. Later, we can utilize that energy during peak demand periods. It acts like a national energy battery. The Solina power plant has a capacity of 200 megawatts. That's enough to power a large Polish city like Rzeszów, with 200,000 residents. This is roughly the amount of energy we generate at the Solina hydropower plant. From here, we can see the full scale of the Solina Dam and the nearby pumped storage power plant. The dam is 664 meters long and 82 meters high. Around 760,000 cubic meters of concrete were used in its construction, making it the largest dam of its kind in Poland. Regarding construction details, the dam is not a single solid block of concrete, but is made up of segments. There are 43 concrete segments positioned side by side, with expansion joints in between, allowing the structure to adapt to the ground below. We constantly monitor its operation, taking measurements to track its condition. The dam functions as it should, and one of our key tasks as the operations team is to keep the structure in good working condition so it can continue to serve for as long as possible. We store water and then convert that water into electricity. Initially, we use energy from the system to pump water into the upper reservoir. Later, we can release that stored water and convert its energy back into electricity. In the national grid system, we have energy storage in the form of battery stations. However, these battery stations have very limited capacity. The power stored in these batteries is minimal compared to the demands of the national electricity system. In contrast, hydroelectric and pumped storage power plants can store large amounts of energy. These plants allow us to store enough energy for several hours of operation. We can deliver hundreds of megawatts to the national grid when energy is most needed. So while we are not directly storing energy, we are storing water, which can later be converted into electricity. We are now inside the Solina Dam. This is the technical walkway leading to the first transportation gallery. In these galleries, you can see, like here, measurement fields that continuously collect data for the dam's automated technical control system. This system gathers data on the condition of the dam, online and year-round. In addition, hydrotechnicians conduct manual hydrotechnical and geodetic measurements, which complement the automated data. These measurements are periodically used to create a technical assessment of the dam's condition, allowing us to determine whether the structure is functioning as it should and whether any additional work or maintenance is needed.
Stwierdzić, czy obiekt pracuje tak jak powinien, czy prace, które tutaj wykonujemy, przynoszą pożądany efekt i czy należy właśnie planować jakieś dodatkowe rzeczy związane właśnie z eksploatacją i z prawidłowym użytkowaniem tego obiektu. W tym
We are
momencie
currently at
jesteśmy
the lowest
najniżej w
accessible
zasadzie, gdzie
point.
się da zejść. Pod nami już jest
Below us is
fundament,
only the
to jest skała, na
foundation
której
and the rock on
zapora
which
jest
the dam is
postawiona.
anchored.
W odniesieniu do właśnie,
Compared to the courtyard where the
tego
helicopters
dziedzińca,
were,
na którym byliśmy
we're
z
about 20
helikopterami,
meters lower.
no tutaj jest jakieś 20 metrów
This level is also
niżej.
below the
Ten
bottom of
poziom,
the
który
Solina
tutaj mamy,
reservoir,
jest także poniżej
so we are a
poziomu
few
dna
meters above the
zbiornika
actual reservoir
Szumowskiego,
bed,
stąd,
with more than
kilka
50
metrów
meters
jeszcze
of water stored above
samego
us.
dna zbiornika, no i 50 kilka metrów wody zgromadzonej w zbiorniku.
You can see a
Tutaj
leak
możemy
here inside the
zaobserwować,
dam,
przeciek,
which happens
który
because the
zbiera się
structure
właśnie
allows
pod spodem,
water from the
ponieważ,
upper reservoir to
konstrukcja,
seep in.
która
Our job is to capture all this water and measure its quantity,
powoduje, że woda
as the leakage rate
z
changes throughout the
górnego
year.
zbiornika, przeciska się tutaj nam do środka, a naszym zadaniem przede wszystkim jest właśnie wychwycenie
During warm periods,
całej tej
like
tej
summer,
wody,
the
opomiarowanie
leakage
ilości,
decreases
bo
because the
przeciek
dam
zmienia
expands
się,
slightly
w
and
ciągu
seals
roku.
itself more effectively.
W okresie, kiedy
In
właśnie
winter,
jest
the amount of
ciepło,
water
taki
leakage
letni
increases.
czas, tak jak teraz, no przeciek nieco maleje, ponieważ no, obiekt troszeczkę się rozszerza i doszczelnia. W zimie ta ilość wody jest nieco większa. Przecieki
Leaks are completely normal.
To jest rzecz całkowicie normalna.
As I mentioned, we must
Tak jak
capture this
mówiłem,
water
musimy tą wodę
inside,
wychwycić
and this
tutaj,
is part of
w
the dam's
środku,
proper functioning.
I to jest element właśnie prawidłowej pracy całego obiektu.
From the first level to the
Z
second,
poziomu pierwszego na
there are
drugi jest
97
97
steps,
schodów.
as we
Musimy
need to climb
pokonać
about
pionie
20 meters
około 20
vertically.
metrów. Kiedyś w ogóle winda nie była tutaj
In the past,
zainstalowana,
there was no
więc
elevator, so all
właśnie
inspections and
prace
maintenance
i
were done by
obchody
walking up the
realizowane
stairs.
właśnie przez obsługę elektrowni były robione na piechotę po schodach.
Here's another interesting
Możemy
construction
zobaczyć jeszcze
detail.
ciekawy szczegół konstrukcyjny samej zapory.
The dam, as I said, is made up of
Zapora,
segments.
tak jak mówiłem, zbudowana
43
jest z
concrete
segmentów,
segments with
wstawionych
expansion
koło siebie,
joints between them.
43 betonowe segmenty,
Normally,
pomiędzy
these
którymi
joints are just a
znajdują
few
się
millimeters
szczeliny
wide,
dilatacyjne. Normalnie
but on the
dylatacja
downstream side, they are wider.
kilka milimetrów.
These joints extend from the foundation almost to the top of the dam, ending about 20 meters below the crest. The height of these joints is about 60 meters.
Prawie po samą koronę, tam około 20 metrów przed koroną się kończą, więc wysokość tych fug to jest około 60 metrów.
Elektrownie wodne nie tylko, jak mówię, zapewniają
Hydroelectric power plants not only ensure hydrological safety by minimizing flood risks, maintain the river's minimum flow, and generate green energy, but they also serve the tourism sector. The area around the power plant has become a beautiful reservoir in the mountains, attracting people from all over Poland to relax here. People don't come to Solina because we produce electricity. They come because it's simply beautiful.
Nie ze względu na to, że prąd tu produkujemy, ale ze względu na to, że tu jest po prostu pięknie.
Znajdujemy się obecnie na koronie zapory w Solinie. Jak widać, no tutaj
We are currently
jest
standing
to
on the crest of the Solina Dam.
potężny obiekt
As you can see,
hydrotechniczny,
this is a
ale
massive
nie tylko,
hydrotechnical
ponieważ
structure,
posłuży nam,
but it also
jako
serves as a
doskonała
great tourist
atrakcja
attraction.
turystyczna.
We
Udostępniamy
open the
właśnie,
dam's crest to visitors,
koronę,
allowing them to walk along it.
do zwiedzania. Można
The
się
dam
przejść
and the
na
reservoir are
spacer.
the main attractions of this
No
region.
sama zapora i zalew, no to
Together with the
główna
newly
atrakcja,
added cable car,
tutaj,
they create a
naszego
fascinating
regionu.
area for walking,
W połączeniu
sightseeing,
też
and
z
swimming.
kolejką od niedawna tworzą naprawdę ciekawe miejsce do właśnie do pospacerowania, do pooglądania, do pływania też i zwiedzania. Są energia odnawialna nie generuje
Renewable energy does not cause any major issues here. It's easy to control the entire production process and manage it to prevent any unexpected or harmful situations for the local area.
Złych dla tutaj okolicy. Praca w tych obiektach przede wszystkim jest ukierunkowana na to, żeby jak najmniej
The focus of these facilities is to minimize interference with nature and the environment. These structures were built and have created new ecosystems that function well, and we strive to maintain this balance without negatively impacting the environment or the lives of people around here.
Żadnego negatywnego wpływu na naturę i na życie ludzi dookoła.
The construction of these facilities was driven by the need to stabilize hydrology and provide safety for the downstream towns. That goal has been achieved, and as long as the facilities continue to operate properly, this safety is maintained.
Dzięki funkcjonowaniu cały czas prawidłowemu tych obiektów cały czas to jest utrzymywane. Osobiście uważam,
I personally believe that hydroelectric power should be further developed in our country.
W naszym kraju, owszem, nie są to proste inwestycje, bo zazwyczaj wiążą się z
Yes, these are not easy investments because they often face legal or land ownership obstacles, as building reservoirs and power plants requires the proper permits. However, because hydroelectric power can be fully controlled and provides a great deal of stability to the energy system, we should focus on developing more facilities like this.
Możliwa do sterowania przez człowieka i daje
Maybe not on such a large scale, since that depends on the terrain, but we should certainly build more hydroelectric plants. Time and resources should definitely be dedicated to their construction.
Bo to też zależy od uwarunkowania terenowego, ale żeby takich obiektów powstawało dużo więcej, no i temu też poświęcać czas i środki, żeby takie obiekty budować.
I believe that the hydroelectric sector not only will develop, but simply must develop. Water management is incredibly important. We can see the effects when we don't have proper water management or reservoirs that can absorb excess water. And if we are building reservoirs like Salina, which protect the area from flooding, we can also benefit from the free, clean electricity that they produce.